Action Podcast with your hosts Chris Carson and DC and Shama.
Welcome to Space Action Podcast, a division of Space Action Heroes, a webcomic that you can find at spaceactionheroes.com. I'm Deniso and Shama.
And I'm Chris Carson.
And as you could no doubt tell, there is a bit of a lag, and I'm sure you can all guess why.
Yeah, we are trapped in our respective locations and have to do a podcast over Messenger, basically, and recording into our phones.
So let's address the big fucking 19.
Yeah,
the elephant in the room, man.
The COVID.
Wishing everybody out there all the best in these quarantine times. I'm just going to start serious and bring everyone down for a minute, remind everybody.
Oh, thanks, man.
And then we'll move on from there to our regular nerdiness. What have you been up to?
Not much. I'll give my COVID-19 update, and then I want to hear what Toronto's like. Basically, because Sam, my lady friend, works at a hospital, so one of her coworkers came down with the plague, so we were in quarantine for a while, Jesus. And we're kind of in constant quarantine because she works at a hospital, so we're always having to look out for symptoms. So basically, I've become like a 1950s housewife. I get up and make Sam breakfast and then clean the house and then just sit around with nothing to do, watching TV and eating bonbons and raising a dog. And I'm
just imagining you.
Oh, sorry.
Remember that woman in Fargo right before Steve Buscemi breaks in the house and she's knitting on the couch watching daytime TV?
Yeah.
And then fucking Henson's curled up in your lap.
Henson just got neutered, so he's in a complete you took my balls, you asshole mood for the past 3 days since he lost his balls. But it's been interesting, just sort of trapped in here. It's kind of hilarious because I want to say that being a house spouse, totally a breeze, I gotta say. And with a puppy, it's kind of like a kid. So I mean, people need to stop complaining. I mean, unless you don't want your dreams crushed, because that also is part of it. But as long as you're okay with that, man, to say it's a lot of work is such a whiny thing to say.
It's if you don't mind the compromise of your free will and mental stability, hey.
If you don't mind
all you need is a cupboard full of Mother's Little Helpers, man. That's it.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
If you don't mind the existential crisis of realizing you're slowly dying one day at a time, unfulfilled and not following your dreams in life, stuck washing the floor and making dinner and taking care of little rugrats rolling at your feet. Yeah, it's great. It's perfect. It's awesome.
But those adventures, those hard times.
Between
the living room and your bedroom.
And the bedroom. How's Toronto? Have you been shooting some guerrilla end of the world movies out on the empty streets?
Yeah, pretty much. You could actually go out there easily and film I was thinking the same thing. I was man, the production value here is great. To go to Yonge and Dundas Square or Nathan Phillips Square and there's absolutely nobody. I've been nowhere near there. I haven't gone out of my neighborhood in the past 4 weeks now, other than grocery runs, and which I've probably only done 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. I have not left the fucking house.
Oh man. Yeah, no, that's the way to go, especially when you have a lung issue as you do.
So that's what freaked me out the most. I got sick right after my birthday, which was the 11th, so on the 13th, I got my standard, it's going from winter into spring cold. Mm. And, which is the symptoms are a runny nose. And I was fuck, I'm going to die. So I called my GP and he went through the standard questions. Have you been in contact with anyone who's left the country? Have you been in contact with anyone who's infected with COVID-19? No. He's just stay home till your symptoms clear. I think I was on day 4 or 5. And then they were everything's shutting down. Everything started closing.
Everything's got insane.
So I was Yeah, I was home like 5 days before everything went really, really bad. I'm not gonna lie, every time I go out there, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Like the past 3 grocery runs I've gone to are getting more and more like 28 days later.
Yeah.
Or like with like the lines and like how stringent people are being and how the supplies are running out really quickly. And just seeing simple shit. Like I was walking down Bloor Street one day, and everything, like some shops are boarded up just in case looters come by in the next couple weeks. But a lot of places are like, hey, with takeout, you can have a beer. We will fucking give you a to-go cup.
Yep.
Please buy our food. Like, Jesus Christ. It's the strangest thing. It really does, like, you know, being a post-apocalyptic nerd, being like, okay, yeah, you get what you paid for, so here we are. Like...
I used to always say that like our grandparents and parents lived through such tumultuous times, like world wars and social revolutions, and the most we ever did was stood in line for Star Wars. And now, like all of the horrible things are happening when we're too old to be cool about it.
But Carson, if you're gonna be cool about it, you gotta be down on spring break saying, "quote I don't care if I get the corona."
Well,
I don't think he was talking about the virus though. I think he was just talking about his beverage getting fucked up.
And
they just took that. Yeah, and then the fucking socialist media took that clip and turned it into yet another conspiracy.
Do you think Corona's gonna rebrand after all this? Like when death toll hits about 1 million? Do you think Corona's going to be like, oh, we are now zippity-doo beer or something?
Nah, I don't think so. You know, like, they could just fucking give it a fun new logo, or they'll be like, they'll just do something cute, like, they'll do a Super Bowl commercial where someone's like, someone want Corona? And they all turn their heads and they're like, ha ha ha. You know, they'll play it cool.
It's funny to imagine the PTSD flashbacks we're going to have in like 20 years when someone offers us a Corona. Like, oh Jesus! Because yesterday or the day before, they said this could go on for another 18 months to 2 years to stay below the curve.
Yeah.
So it's like this.
Oh yeah,
this is insane. Absolutely.
I'm not going to bring everybody down by quoting the projections I was reading, but like there was a morning where I just read a bunch of stuff about like, okay, what are people actually saying? The information's out there if you want to go and read it. I won't be the messenger. But I would just spend all of one day just in the fetal position. It's like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Please, it's just going to be fine. Please, for the love of God, fine.
My favorite thing about all of this, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, man, as a comic book podcast and as a comic book nerd, this was our giant squid. Like, I don't want to get political with nothing, but I will say this much. This was our Watchmen giant squid where the entire planet should have unified against a fucking common evil and been like, oh shit, like we need to fucking re-amend how our systems work because we need to work together to defeat this thing. But all we really got out of it was toilet paper hoarding and a bunch of xenophobia. And I'm really not proud of humanity right now.
Maybe that'll come when it peaks at the extreme. Like I saw someone tweeted, and I thought it was funny, where it's like, in all dystopic sci-fi, whenever something like this happens, like people wage war on each other and become tribal in bands, and we're like sharing art and singing out the windows. And it's like, yeah, but the power hasn't gone out yet.
Yeah, yeah, it's week 4.
Right.
It's week 4, and people are already just like, oh my god, it's not that bad. Let's just go outside.
Fuck it.
They're like those people in the mist who just voluntarily walk into the monsters. You're like, no.
Just chanting boomer remover as they wander out into the street. It's insane. But yeah, Sam and I to celebrate because we're stuck in here and we really can't go out because we're like at ground zero of it all. I've been watching virus movies. We watched 12 Monkeys and Contagion. Contagion is horrifying because it actually, like, for the first 20 minutes of Contagion, it's almost a one-for-one of what's happening in reality right now. And it was made back in 2011.
Yeah, that's why I've been avoiding it.
Well, because the creepy part is that, because it's a COVID virus. It comes from a bat. It comes from a fish market in China. Like, and it was made in 2011, so it was just so oddly one for one. And so when it got to the point of the movie where it surpassed where we are, and when things started getting horrifying, it was like, oh fuck, this is gut-wrenchingly terrifying.
That's like that guy who wrote that book about about an ocean liner that hit an iceberg and sank. Like, 18 months before the Titanic even set sail.
Right.
Like, if you're that writer, are you just sitting there watching shit being like, oh, dear God, no. Oh, dear God, no. I could have written a children's book. I could have written a book of dirty limericks, but oh, no.
Yeah. I wonder how Steven Soderbergh's feeling right now. It's just like, oh, did the bioterrorists watch my movie?
Exactly.
But on a much lighter note, this week we're going to talk about a movie that symbolizes domestic abuse, which is a much, much lighter note, I guess.
Oh, thank God.
Than the state of the world.
Well, we all know that the real horrible threat to humanity is toxic masculinity. I can't say it right.
It's the invisible threat. It's not just...
Oh,
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So it's Blumhouse's The Invisible Man. That's what we're going to talk about this week in our awkward over the internet isolation podcast.
Yeah, so if there's weird beats in here, folks, just bear with us.
Yeah, and I'm sure the disparity between how our recording sound is going to be vast, but I mean, you got to work with what you got.
We're doing what we're doing.
Do what you got. So you just watched The Invisible Man.
I literally finished
today.
it like 10 minutes ago. Yeah.
Yeah, we watched it 2 days ago, so it's pretty fresh in both our minds, at least.
Directed by Lee Huano of the Saw franchise.
Oh, was
also
it a Saw
not a
dude?
stranger to this. Yeah, he's the dude who's stuck in the room with Carrie Uless in the first one.
Oh, like an actor directed this?
He wrote and directed the first Saw with the guy who does your love fest. What's it called? The ones that you love so goddamn much.
I love them. The Insidious and
Insidious.
Conjuring movies. Yeah.
What's his name? Aquaman. Why can't I remember his name? The director.
James Wan.
James Wan. So Lee Wannell's the other half who made Saw, and was his flick. He's not a stranger to this podcast. He also did that Upgrade movie that I saw.
Oh yeah, I remember talking about that, and then I also remember never watching it.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't miss much.
I didn't know.
You did not miss much. It's entertaining, but like, would I recommend it to anyone? Nah. If it's on TV, like, give it a whirl, but nah.
Yeah, I think like talking to you about it, I was like, I feel like I've watched it, and I feel like I'm good.
Yeah.
But so what did
Invisible?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What did you think of the fact that after spending hundreds of millions of dollars on fucking vampire movies and mummy movies, and then setting Johnny Depp up, remember he was going to be the Invisible Man?
He was good. Back in the day, I think you could still find the picture of all of them in that group shot.
Vanity Fair.
Which is such a stupid publicity move. They're not even in costumes. They didn't even put them on a spooky background or anything. They're literally just sitting in chairs, being like,
we have
one
our
day.
own universe. Yeah, look at us. We're Marvel.
Where is it? You'll see.
You'll see.
Oh, if we get these first 3 movies to work, we'll have one unifying movie after that one.
Yeah, and instead of all of that, we got like a $5 million like minuscule budget actual horror movie, which is great because that's what these monsters were, right? Like actual horror movies. So
and also taking a modern take on it, you know? Like, I thought like that's the point of horror movies. They have to speak for the time. And he's like, I'm going to do a story about like domestic abuse and fucking gaslighting. I was like, oh shit, son. Well played.
And what better character to like symbolize the psychological effect of being afraid of someone when they're not even there than the Invisible Man?
Yep.
It's kind of perfect. It's a really great movie.
It was really smart. Like the part where I thought it really came together, like I'm going to spoil this right out of the gate. It's pretty much like a Scooby-Doo episode for the first 3/4 of it. Like the whole time, I'm like, it's the only other male character that's not the black guy. It's gotta be him. Like, what the hell? So, eventually, they reveal it, and I look at the time bar. There's still 25 minutes left. I'm like, oh, where are we going with this half then? That's where it got interesting to me. Mm-hmm. Where they almost went like, I don't know if you've ever seen. It
actually was Adrian, yeah.
Yeah, and then it kind of went almost like a little bit. There was a reason for doing the whole spousal abusive kind of relationship story, just to have that satisfaction and that payoff of her, spoilers again, going back and slitting that fucking dude's throat.
Getting the invisible suit out of the closet that she ran away with and
yes,
murdering him.
But also the fact, like, it was such a like Michael Corleone, Sons of Anarchy, eye for an eye type death. Like, you slit my sister's throat with an invisible suit, sir, I'm gonna slit your throat with an invisible suit. Fuck you. I was like, that was some pretty gangster shit at the end. Like, holy
get
fuck.
away with it, yeah.
Well, basically just, the whole parable they built up in that movie of just being like, I'm going to use it to talk about essentially a weird form of the Me Too movement in the form of a universal monster movie, you know?
Yeah. It was the type of, like, a quote-unquote progressive movie that wasn't preachy and annoying. It was actually well done and explored a theme. It didn't just say, like, aren't men terrible? It was like, this guy's a monster and she's in an abusive relationship.
And also, I love, like, the idea of just the hysteria of it all.
Oh, like her slowly gaslighting, going mad?
Yeah, exactly. Like, who would believe that you didn't slit your sister's throat at a dinner table? You know what I mean?
Invisible Man, really great. You should watch it.
What I really liked about it, to be honest with you, I thought the best part about it, because people kept saying how great it was, but it's one of those things you actually just have to see it to get why it's that great, was how they filmed the Invisible Man even though you couldn't see him. Like, they would just follow him down a hallway, or someone would go out of focus as we focus on him. And because there's no one there, it's so smart. Like, that was the most unsettling part of watching that movie, was it was saying nothing while saying a whole lot of shit. Like, he's right fucking there. Like, we're not going to do a Kevin Bacon Hollow Man thing. He's just right fucking there, because I'm telling you, he's right fucking there.
And there was just so much, like, empty space in every shot that your eye was constantly searching. Like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he?
Yeah.
And what did you think of the fact that it wasn't a formula? It was like a magic suit, of an optic suit, a predator suit, basically.
Because it's one of those things, I'm like, if that technology or a close approximation of it already exists, then fucking use that technology. Like, they kind of do have invisibility type cloaking right now, where they have like a camera mounted on the front that replicates what's on the back, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, dude, the formula is stupid. You gotta get rid of the formula. So if you're just gonna take something that I know already exists and just upgrade, fine, that works for me.
Yeah, and it was a weird little, like, a hole-filled suit that was just creepy as hell to look at.
I know I have tryptophobia pretty badly. Did you get all, like, wigged out?
Yeah, see, I don't have tryptophobia, but I totally, like, especially the musical cues that accompanied the suit reveal was something straight out of a Hammer horror. So it was like,
when she splashes it with the paint?
That, and also when she finds it in the basement, and it's like this almost operatic synthy choir sound, and it's like, it's so awkward and horrible sounding. It's just so creepy as fuck. And is someone in there? Like, you don't even know.
Exactly. Yeah. The only problem I have with that movie, I know it's a horror movie. If it played out like real life, there'd be no tension, and it'd be fucking stupid. Take the suit with you.
Oh, when she ran out of the closet? That made no sense.
Take the suit with you, girl. Like, what are you doing?
I didn't understand that, because she ran in with it and then just bailed. I was like, oh, you're just setting up something later, aren't you? Because that was the one leap in logic.
You don't want to take the evidence proving that your story is right piece of material from the house that you could easily have fit in a reusable canvas bag we saw.
Which she does at the end, yeah. Yeah, no, that part really bugged me, because as soon as she ran out, I remember I turned to Sam and I was like, wait, where's the suit? Did she have the suit with her? Why did she leave the suit? And I was so confused.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're just setting this up for later. Fuck you, movie. But that was the only fuck you movie moment.
There was another one that kind of bugged me. It's after the paint splash, because it's such a shock you don't really think about it. I'm like, take the cell phone and the fucking sketchbook of shit he left up there with you.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like,
and also, if you're going to use something like paint to reveal the suit, you can't have him clean it so quickly and efficiently. Like,
right?
Yeah. It should have been water, like, just so you see this water dripping off the suit.
I guess because, like, they were doing renovations, they were like, and then she throws a bucket of paint on it.
Right.
But you're right. Water, like, even if she just had some juice.
Yeah.
She took some iced tea up with her or some coffee or something.
Just splash on him. Because paint, it's like he ran to the sink and washed the paint off, and you're going, wait a minute. This is making me question the validity of this weird horror movie.
Yeah, anyone who's painted a room at least once or twice has spilt a bucket of paint and has seen how fucking much of a pain it is to clean that shit up.
Absolutely terrible. But other than that, really good.
The other moment, I was kind of just like, fuck you, movie. But I don't want to shit on it too much. I did enjoy it for the most part. Was the hallway scene whenever he's just sniping cops left and right. A lot of cops for an insane asylum, but I'll take it.
You know,
An institution.
Yeah.
I want to remain PC here.
I keep saying everything's great, and then you come up with another point, and then it makes me think of a point, because how come that little weaselly guy was like a kung fu master?
Exactly. Well, he was a businessman. Maybe he's one of those like Front Street dudes who like in his downtime does like fucking Muay Thai or
Just
something.
something, and then because he's invisible, he has the edge.
Yeah, he works in the fucking banking industry. Him and his brother, he got him into the Joe Rogan podcast or something, and now they just fucking juice and wear invisible suits.
Go nuts. Hey, speaking of Joe Rogan, he made an offhanded comment about how Trump was better than Biden, and now Trump has like retweeted it, and everyone's screaming at Joe Rogan.
Oh, that backfired quickly.
Super quickly.
He's trying to shit on Joe Biden. Everyone fucking hates him for liking Trump.
Yeah, exactly. And Trump retweeted it. It's like, oh, you pathetic old man.
That's like someone saying you're almost as big of a piece of shit as that guy, and you're like, see that? I'm not as much of a piece of shit.
You know, I do have to say, like, I am not a religious person at all, but the final nail in any kind of question of whether or not God exists will be if Trump doesn't die from this plague.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
If he survives this
God.
plague, that is proof positive that there is no God.
It'd be great. You know what? I could see him as the type of dude, like, he's already been diagnosed positive, so he's just going to do a lot of weird shit before the next election coming up.
Right before the end. He's going to finally bang that daughter of his.
That's why he's keeping all the masks from Canada. He's like, I don't know. Let's see what happens.
I don't know. Yeah. Let's just see. On a slightly unrelated note, are you caught up on Better Call Saul?
I am caught up on Better Call Saul.
We could do. I don't think I can use the jingle now on iTunes, but we can do a Better Call Saul recall.
Saul Recall.
Saul recall.
Isn't that it? That could be
It was me like horribly singing to the theme tune from Better Call Saul. It's just awkward. But what do you think of the season so far?
It's a little out of like, because the problem is with like that series, that universe, is that when it's tight, it's airtight.
Mm-hmm.
So when there's a bit of air, you're kind of like, oh, like that should have. Like, I get, like, they like to, really pull the taffy on that show, but some of the plot lines, I'm like, that could have been resolved a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's getting a little strange, but I'm getting the feeling that's because they've got a final date. They got an end destination at this point.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like they retooled. Like, whenever, I think you had mentioned that it felt like a lot of the plot lines from previous seasons dropped off. It really does feel like a hard left this season, where they're like, we have a conclusion point that we're going for,
but we still have another season to get there.
Yeah, exactly. So they're doing what they did in the last season of Breaking Bad over 2 seasons.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like to me.
I've noticed the same thing where it's something not quite tangible that is a little off this season, and I think part of it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Bob Odenkirk seems like he's not trying as hard. Like, his Saul is weird this season, and I'm wondering if maybe he got the scripts for the season and doesn't agree where they're taking the character. Because he's often in interviews, like, said, like, I think it should be this way, and I'm not going to be happy if it's another way. And I'm wondering if that's what happened, if it's like, oh, they're going to kill Kim or something. He doesn't agree with it. So he, I don't know, it doesn't feel like he's bringing his A game. Or maybe he's just, like, sick or depressed or something. I don't know. But
maybe it's just the character, because I'm thinking, I have noticed like this weird malaise about his performance, and I wasn't sure if, like, now that you said it, I just put it on the character. I'm like, oh, he's acting off because he's going so far off the grid more than he ever has before. Like, he's full blown. This is like Jimmy's dead. This is the nascent days of Saul Goodman, so he's still trying to get his footing. Like with the last episode where he just has that meltdown in the lobby.
Oh, he's yelling at
Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, no, there's a reason why this Jimmy's off. And again, if I really had to guess what it was, I think El Camino might have had something to do with it, in that they've always had Ignacio and Lalo in the narrative since Saul's introduction. And I think now that they finally figured out how they're going to conclude the series, that it ties back into Breaking Bad, they're trying to curve it towards this ending they didn't originally plan for. And I'm wondering if that has something to do with the fact they had everybody back for El Camino.
Right.
They're like, we can film a bunch of shit for Saul right now that we can keep in the can. So I don't know, like, if that's just me speculating, but it does feel like a huge change of pace. I really noticed it with Mike's character.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Where, like, in one episode he snaps at his granddaughter only to get the shit kicked out of him, so he can go to that medical farm to get rehabilitated. And I was like, all of that was just so you could curb his fuck you to Gus at the start of the season.
Yep.
Where he was like, you keep your goddamn money. All of that was just one big ploy, and now he's right back where he started at the start of the season.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. Like, weird choice, because, again, this show's usually airtight.
Yeah. And specifically that scene you mentioned with when he's yelling at Howard is one of the performance moments where I thought, like, oh, we're seeing something about Jimmy's character becoming Saul, but Odenkirk doesn't feel like he's giving it his all. It almost felt like he was holding back, even though he was supposed to be completely unhinged in that moment. So that's why I'm wondering if a lot of this is his acting. The way he's interpreting the character this season seems off. It's very odd. And I thought the scenes with Hank were just so awkward. They felt like so forced and weird. Just the dialogue between him and Gomi.
It was, like, again, because I know that they were really trying to go hard with the Breaking Bad cameos. You know, Bill Burr was supposed to come back this season.
Oh, and he didn't? Why hasn't he come back?
Yeah.
Because of Disney?
He was, I think he was, he probably was working on The Mandalorian, actually, now that I think about it. But he was supposed to be, what's his face from GTA 5.
I thought
Remember
I knew it. I didn't know it, but I knew it because as soon as he said I'm calling someone, I was like, oh, Bill Burr's about to show up, and then it was the dude from GTA, and I was like, oh, he's the guy from season 1. Neat, but no Bill Burr.
Yeah. I think he talked about it in Bill Burr in one of his podcasts was like, I was offered an opportunity, but I was working on something else, so I couldn't fucking do it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that had to be it. That had to be it.
I wonder if they're going to bring him in next season, maybe.
I hope so. But, like, going back to, like, they're going hard with the callbacks to other characters, like Hank.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really does. I don't like what. There was no reason to include Hank. Of all the DEA agents, it could have been anybody.
I know, yeah.
I guess to show that he's been on the Salamancas forever.
I guess.
And that was kind of his arc, is that it eventually, that investigation killed him, I guess.
But then
if I'm really...
Also, when Hank meets Saul in Breaking Bad, you get the vibe that that's the first time they've met. So it's weird to sort of backlog that they've met before.
It's like Chewie and Yoda.
Right, yeah.
You're just like, you were friends all along?
Yeah.
What? I was thinking about that recently. That part in Empire, whenever Luke's like, Chewie, you take care of yourself. He scratches his neck and Chewie hugs him and shit. If only Luke was like, I'm off to Dagobah to search for a Jedi Master named Yoda. He would have been like, oh shit, get out.
Bitch, I've worked with that guy.
He's so good. Yo, tell him fucking Chew Dog says hi, because he'll get it. He'll get it.
Yeah. When you're invoking like prequel Star Wars into talking about any TV show, that's never a good sign.
But you know what? At this point, it's still pretty. It's like they're like not even. I wouldn't say B game. I'm still enjoying the fuck out of it. But it's seeing them kind of like, you could tell whenever that show's so good at hiding the strings that are being pulled, that when the payoffs happen, you're like, oh, that's so fucking smart. Now you can really feel like, okay, we're pulling you in this direction because just wait. I feel like the payoff's going to be worth it. And I have faith in them as writers, you know?
And as writers, I think, because they paid such close attention to Breaking Bad, there's little spoilers that I think are unintentional. Like, in Breaking Bad, at one point, Saul Goodman says, just ask my 3 ex-wives about whatever the line was. And then in the most recent episode where him and Kim get married so that they can have that protection so he can tell Kim what's going on, they say, do you have the annulments from your last 2 marriages? So in Breaking Bad, they do mention 3 ex-marriages. So I guess Kim is just going to end up leaving him.
Or murked. Because I'm trying to think, like, what else pushes him that far into hiding to the point where he's working, not except working, but I guess he just introduces Walt to Gus. He doesn't really work for Gus.
He only knows Mike, yeah. Well, that's another thing, too, because in an interview about season 5, Bob Odenkirk said, like, they mentioned about Kim's fate, and he actually said, like, I wouldn't be happy if Kim died because that feels like Jimmy would move away from a life of crime and not more into it. And so maybe the scripts do have Kim dying, and maybe that's why he's not giving it his all this season, because it does feel like he's holding back.
Because as much as I love the writing on Breaking Bad, it does have this unyielding cruelty. It's like, what you think is not going to happen, it's going to fucking happen. Example, whenever they make Jesse, what's his face, Meth Damon executes his girlfriend, like, right in front of him. The neo-Nazis make him watch it. Like, they're not going to do it. They fucking do it. They won't kill Jane. They fucking kill Jane. So I'm looking at Kim, and I'm like, oh, Kim. Oh, baby. Get the fuck away from this guy. Like, oh, no.
You got to get as far away as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the scene whenever he first links up with Lala. He's like, do you want to be a friend of the cartel? And she, like, the dour performance that they made her give in that situation. They're about to fuck. And also Jimmy's like, by the way, I'm working for the cartel. And the way Kim was like, is that something that you want? I'm like, this is going to blow back on her. There's no way this doesn't blow back on her.
Oh, for sure. And can I just say how awkward it was seeing Saul Goodman have sex?
Trying to fuck. But I thought of that too. But how many times did we have to see Walt and Skyler fuck? We saw Walt and Skyler fuck a lot. So
Saul is so much scummier though. I've been going back and watching like first appearances of Saul when he's actually kind of fat and he has that greasy mullet and he actually acts completely differently. He's way over. He's just basically playing a scumbag used car salesman at that point.
I always compared him to a successful Lionel Hutz.
Right. Yeah. But then now it's like, I don't know, it's in a weird way, the depth of Jimmy McGill takes away from Saul Goodman and doesn't add to it in some ways.
I could see what you're saying. Yeah, no, because you kind of like the superhero character that he was in the original series. But like, this guy is fucking like grease lightning. He's untouchable. Like, even Walter White in the end doesn't get the final say over this guy's life. He still slips away.
Yeah.
But seeing him have this much depth and be so fragile, you're like, oh, okay. He's just a dude, and I kind of feel bad for him now.
Yeah,
which like
for
the past 30 years, his life has been shit.
Yeah, which as for an actor, that's really interesting to play, but for an audience, it's sort of like, oh, there is something to be lost from a scumbag having depth.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Bob Odenkirk's almost 60, and he's really everyone's starting to look so fucking old. In this show, it's like a series about a bunch of grandpas running around doing stuff.
Because they already had Plumpy Meth Damon. They had a bit of that when they reintroduced Gus as Doctor, and I was like, "Whoa, that dude has been fucking chilling and getting big." Like he looked like a fucking. I don't want to be rude or nothing, but that man looked way different. He had a bit of the fucking. Todd's, what did we determine last time? He had some sort of thyroid condition that made him really
just bloated him up for that weekend, and then he got really skinny again. That weekend, Todd got fat. Should have been the name of the El Camino.
He started tasting the product that Gus was fucking slinging. He was like, this meth ain't bad.
This meth's okay, but not as good as your fried chicken, Gus. But Gus too, he's looking ancient. Like when in the last episode when he burnt down the restaurant, it was like watching your grandpa.
He's been tracking down fucking intergalactic children. He's got shit to do. He's a busy man. He popped up. What else did he pop up in recently? I was watching something and I was like, Jesus fuck, is there anything you're not in now? Can't remember what it was. This makes for interesting podcasting, but
We highly encourage people to Google it and leave a comment. that would be great.
But yeah, Giancarlo Esposito, man, like I could just watch that dude eat cheese. Like I would watch an entire series of just Gus at home. Whenever they showed him checking into the hotel, I was like, please just show an entire scene of Gus Fring brushing his teeth, reading a book, going to bed, setting an alarm on his phone. Like I could watch this all day.
Oh, her too. The girl, what's her name? The Stevia.
Oh, Lydia.
Lydia, she's aged too. I guess it has been like a decade since Breaking Bad.
The one that really threw me for a loop was when they reintroduced the head of the company who defibrillates himself.
Yeah, he looks so much older.
I was like, who the fuck is this supposed to be? When I Googled him, I was like, oh, man, it has been a decade.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I don't know. It's that fine line because I do respect like the creative process of we're making a prequel, but we're not going to sully it with de-aging everyone. But at the same time, it takes you out of the story to have them so old. So it's like a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, but at the same, like, you're right. I wouldn't want to watch an Irishman version of fucking Better Call Saul either. It'd just be weird.
Yeah, or like Todd thinned down in El Camino. And like, that would just be weird.
They give him the fucking Steve Rogers body.
Yeah. Oh.
That one
Steve Rogers.
That one freaked me out because he still had the voice of a big guy. It just didn't look right. This tiny, scrawny dude, he was like, I don't like bullies. I could do this all day. You're
all day.
What the hell? I would back off just because he sounds like that. Like, what the shit?
Hey, speaking of not specifically Marvel movies, but movies in general, it kind of looks like in the next 6 months, we're not going to have any new media for like a year. So this podcast is going to suffer. Everything's getting pushed back. Theaters are closed. Disney just put up their new Onward, the new Pixar that came out like a couple weeks ago, is already on Disney streaming.
We could start reviewing celebrity live streams.
Oh, Jesus. Let's move this podcast over to TikTok and get the kids. Get the kids.
As long as you stop referring to them as kittens.
The kids. I downloaded TikTok because I was curious about it. All it is a series of like 14-year-olds with their tits out wiggling on camera. It's really weird. It's like people doing lame dad jokes and 14-year-olds showing off their bodies. That's TikTok.
So I assumed it was like Vine where I sound like such an old man.
Me too.
I thought it was just like Vine where you make like 12-second videos and that was it.
Me too. It's sort of like Vine, the next generation, where you can add some editing effects to it and music to it and stuff. But it seems unlike Vine, where people were doing sketches. This has just become like, again, predominantly young ladies wiggling their nipples, and then like weird like prank things, and or copy
the
like
prank.
Oh, sorry.
The prank stuff I see a lot because, I'm not going to lie, I watch a lot of compilation videos of people falling down because, you know what? Fuck you. It makes me laugh. And, you know, it's better than half the shit on Netflix.
Oh, yeah, seriously. But I was thinking, like, it's crazy. Like, again, not to dour the podcast, but it's really weird that the next year or two is going to be unlike anything we've ever experienced.
Well, you still got television coming out, right?
Well, I don't know. Like, a lot of productions are being halted. So
I think what's going to happen is probably a lot of people have movies in the can that were set for later releases, like fucking, you know, we got that new Bond movie and fucking
new
Black
Mutants.
Widow. So
Black
like
Widow.
they're smart, those guys. They're smarter than we are. They make billions of dollars. They're going to pace those movies out and just doll them out slowly until like they slowly give the green light to go out and start productions again. I imagine they'll spoon feed out a movie here and there. Maybe they'll like release half of New Mutants or something,
right?
You know?
As a series. And I guess it really depends on how long this quarantine is in effect. Like, if it is for a year of this, then they will eventually run out.
Well, you know, that's just where we have to start getting back into old-timey radio and puppet shows. And
I'm telling you, man.
Frankly, I can't wait.
Yeah, no, seriously. I just want to start making like an old-fashioned radio play, like The Shadow or The Phantom or something.
I'm telling you. It'd be fun.
It'd be so much fun. I mean, it would be insane. The amount of difficulty it took for us to even record this podcast today, it would be insane. But still, it would be a lot of fun. You know what's actually pretty fun, if anyone out there does have an Oculus Quest, is you can download this, basically a 3D version of Google Maps, and you can just wander around the world. Like, for those of you who don't know, I went to Egypt last year, and so I actually went and walked along the streets I walked on in Egypt, and it felt like I was there. It was really fun.
That's really cool.
It was neat, yeah.
So you're settling nicely into your Wally pod there. You got your fucking headset on proper. You don't need to leave the house anymore. Is what you're trying to tell me?
Oh my God, I'm kind of a hermit. I will admit it, but even this is a bit much for me. Like it's a little nuts.
Remember the irony we were talking about this in the Lighthouse podcast. I was like, how long would you last? Because 4 weeks is a long time. Dude, we're at 4 weeks and it's like, well, you get what you pay for, man. I said it before and I'll say it again.
What?
What?
What? It's best not to quarrel with a seabird.
I wonder how. I wonder how many people are discovering that movie now and being like, turn it off.
Just turn it off.
I'd rather watch Contagion. Just turn it off.
Oh man, if you want to get completely freaked out, watch Contagion.
I don't know if I want to, dude. Like, that'd be like if I was fucking held in the basement for fucking, not hundreds of years, like decades by a psychopath. The first thing you want me to watch is that Brie Larson movie where she's fucking stuck in the goddamn basement. I'm like, yeah, nah. I will watch 99.9% of the movies or series on the fucking planet right now. I don't think I have the fucking balls to watch Contagion right now. I'm just not feeling it. I'm living it. I don't need to watch it.
Yeah, 'cause we went down the Contagion rabbit hole. I think because it hit us so close that one of Sam's actual like coworkers still has it. She's had it for 6 weeks now, and it lasts and lasts and lasts. And so we were like, let's approach this, since it's fucking terrifying. Let's approach it in a way that we can sort of micromanage it, I guess, and just watch some outbreak movies and
therapeutically.
Yeah, I made the comment, and I stand by it, is that, like, Game of Thrones style, in the first season when the old Nan is talking to Bran and she says, you're a child of summer, you have no idea what winter is or what cold is. I kind of feel like that's us, specifically millennial generation that we are, and especially Generation Z, the TikTok generation. It's like we're children of summer. We have no fucking idea how cold it can get, and we're like, oh no, it's fine, let's just go out.
I know, and the funny thing is, again, I don't want to bring it back to this because we're all thinking about it, but it's like if there's no subtlety in it, like flatten the curve, people. If you look at all the information on the internet available, it's just like, okay, see this tiny inclination in front of this enormous hill? That's where we are.
Yeah.
Okay, so no matter how we slice it, it's gonna get worse. Just
it's either
chill the fuck out.
It's either like Thanos it and let it burn through and kill off half the population and save the planet, so maybe a little Team Thanos, or lower the curve and it's going to last 2 years. So either option is fucking awful.
It's kind of like, what do you call it? People like all those fucking TV shows like America's Funniest Home Videos where you had to lock in your votes and everything. People are voting by fucking going out. Like, consciously or not, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right, enjoy yourselves.
I found it funny that all the younglings, because originally it came out, the information was like young people, like under 20, don't get it, but then the first 20-year-old died the other day, so it's like, no, it's killing everybody. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm going to try and figure out a way to get my mic to work off my computer, and then we can just talk on our cell phones. I think that's going to be the best way to go.
All right, so here's an entire episode you may or may not hear, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. This one's going to be tough, guys, to get through. It's going to be tough. But I'm going to do my best to make it sound as natural as possible, so wish me luck and Godspeed.
All right. That's Space Action Podcast for this today.
Yeah,
see you, everybody.
Everyone stay safe, everyone stay inside, and we'll see you sometime in the future.
Bye.
Bye.